Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another special edition of NATS Chat to help all of us get through this very unprecedented time with the COVID-19 or coronavirus. I'm Kari Ragan, the moderator of NATS Chat, and I'm so thrilled to be joined by my guests, my panelists tonight, Joshua Glasner, Nicholas Perna, Kathy Price, John Nix, Alan Henderson, our fearless leader, will be on momentarily, and Karen Brunson. Karen, you wanted to say something to our organization, our members?
Yeah, I just wanted to say welcome, and we're just really glad that NATS can do this so quickly, so amazingly expertise-wise too. It's just amazing that what this has pulled us all together for a good purpose, and we're seeing tons of initiative going on across our membership. These NATS chats are just incredible, and there's more to come. Student auditions have had to deal with things. Maybe some had to cancel and others have gone to online means, but there's been so much connectivity about all of these. If you check out Facebook pages that are NATS-centric, you'll see NATS chats for voice teachers and members only group, a staff, and you'll see NATS for Zoom and Canvas and Blackboard and more. And you'll see your chapter and region NATS Facebook pages too. There's some live streamed events ideas that we are going to be opening up in fact, you can go to it now on the website, to events. And people who would like to stream one of their events live can put it on that calendar so we can all go and watch it. We've got some NATS coordinated help from merchants like AppCompanist and voicelessons.com. And today, Alan and I were on a really interesting discussion with Opera America and our colleagues that stretch out to so many other of the organizations that so many of us are members of. I just wanted to mention that this is something we have been working very hard on. And frankly, this crisis has forced our hand at moving faster. And so we've had a strategic plan that we have worked very, very hard on, and hundreds of people have been involved in this. And we have a vision and a mission statement, and we have our values, which are they spell SPACE: support, provide, advance, celebrate, and encourage. And tonight I just wanted to mention that we also now have our diversity and inclusion statement that has been approved by the board. And this is the first ever in the history of NATS. And the diversity inclusion statement is what you see here. NATS strives to be a welcoming and supportive community of members and students who celebrate the unique identities, varied backgrounds, and experiences of all individuals. We are dedicated to ensuring that all voices are valued and heard in an inclusive, it's not all there, in an inclusive environment, I think it's supposed to say. And so we are so thrilled. This is part of being inclusive, is if it's online or it's in person or it's at meetings that we meet at. Right now it's going to be online, and you're in for a real treat with this entire thing this evening. I'm going to tune out now so Alan can tune in, and I'm taking notes like crazy. Thanks so much to all of our presenters.
Thank you, Karen, so much. And our fearless leader, Alan Henderson, is now joining us. And as always, I want to give him a huge shout out for his unbelievable leadership through this crisis. Thank you, Alan. So as we start here, just a couple ground rules, everyone, or orientation as well. You have a little question box in your control panel. So there's a little square with an arrow, click on that and a box opens up. You can ask questions. Please don't do so yet. We love you and we're happy you're there. Please don't type in hello because it just populates my question box and it's hard for me to manage the chat. So be patient with your questions, and when we get to a topic that your question seems reasonable, if we haven't covered it, please feel free to ask then, and I'm happy to read the questions. And there's also a chat box, so people don't take advantage of that. Open your little chat box and you can chat with the entire audience, or you can chat with other people on. And tonight we are going to discuss the needs of teachers that are needing to take their pedagogy courses online. So we'll talk about the nuts and bolts of that, including the practicum portion. So let's begin. Thank you guys for being with me. Let's start with just some thoughts from my panelists about How do we now consider this, what can feel like an overwhelming task of taking our courses online, specifically pedagogy? Joshua, do you want to lead us off with some thoughts?
Sure. I mean, I think that we need to be everything at this point has to be student centric, right? Like it's really hard for us to do these things. It's really hard for us to kind of completely change our courses halfway through the semester. But I just met with my studio via Zoom this afternoon, and the biggest thing they said, or the most important thing they said, was that they're finding that they're not always hearing from professors, right? So as much as we can do to be communicative with those students, I know that music professors were typically doing that anyway, but as much as we can, being really communicative with those students is going to be really helpful. I think in terms of the actual nitty-gritty of these courses, I think that I was talking with Nick, I think, about this, that it's this is really pushing us into best practice in certain ways. It's really hard in this type of situation to talk at our students, and we're kind of having to find different ways to make sure that they are able to learn in really non-conventional ways.
I love that. Nicholas, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I totally agree with what Josh just said. I think my biggest thing with all of this has been, in terms of coursework, I think that it's important we try to not reinvent our courses and not try to put pressure on ourselves to be great digital content creators this week. And I also think that as we go, not only just using materials that already exist, but also I think that as the dust settles a little bit, because honestly, so many of us have sort of been in panic mode, just in the idea of like, oh my goodness, this has been a major disruption. I think as we sort of settle a little bit, one of the things we're going to start to realize is all of our courses, while even within a voice pedagogy course, we all set them up differently, we all order our topics differently, we all deliver our content differently. And so in a way, we all do this individually as well, thanks to academic freedom. And so I think we need to keep in mind that I think one of the best things about the best practice thing that Josh just said is, if there's one great thing moving forward for the semester, it's take your topics that you have left, cut them in half, choose only what's absolutely necessary, and deliver that content. And I think if we, that's very student-centric by itself and sort of pushes us into really dealing with the important stuff in the first place.
And I think somebody said in our little Google Doc, smaller segments, don't plan on sitting there and lecturing for 90 minutes. And we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of that in this chat of where are the resources and how do we do that. But am I understanding that correctly? You think smaller segments, don't sit there and lecture like you might. Hopefully we're not doing that anymore. I think the evidence is out that lecturing is not made the most ideal for our students. If we just lecture for 90, we need interactive opportunities. So Kathy, what would you like to share? Any thoughts with us about as we start?
I have lots of thoughts and just trying to sort through them as I listen to other people. One is that as you make these decisions about what to include, remember that it's important for the students to still feel like they're connecting to each other as well. And so some of our platforms allow for that, not only all in real time, but also in written discussions that they can share, online. And in a lot of my assignments, I'll often ask them to respond to at least one or two other people's posts. And that way they start reading and talking to each other that way. And one of the blessings of anything that's online is that even though we have a schedule into which we could potentially put a virtual meeting, with everybody in the class kind of logging in at the same time, because we had a brick and mortar, class already with a certain time on a certain day. But a lot of online things can be done at any time, and the students can put their stuff out, in the middle of the night whenever they're functioning their best. And you can change your deadlines, and you can make them, a week from now while you're conducting your perhaps online class in a group Zoom situation, or just putting it online and letting them do it at their own pace. As long as there's interactive things with each other, there will be interactive things with you. And I wanted to mention this before I forget, and that is that one of the great things about online written content is that most platforms allow you to make a comment to the student, but you can also make a comment to the group about the assignment or about what somebody has talked about. And this gives you a chance to be personal with the student, but also content oriented when you say something with the group. So if a student is struggling a little bit or they're doing really great, you can make that comment to them individually, but you can also make a group comment or group announcement.
Great, thank you. And John, words of wisdom from you.
Words of wisdom. I'll do my best. Well, I want to echo what everyone has said, and I also, following along what Kathy was saying about, having asynchronous kind of activities and yet still interactive. Just an example, I have, with my undergraduate class this semester, sometimes I'll throw out a topic and I'll say, okay, you three argue pro in favor of, and it'll be something, maybe a little controversial, like, well, it's the student's job to come warmed up to their lesson. The teacher doesn't have to vocalize the students. The teacher is there just to work with them on their repertoire. And I'll let them work on the pro, and then I'll have another group say, okay, no, you're going to argue against this. And so that can be done online. You can have a little debate topic and say, okay, I want the three of you to get together, and by tomorrow, I want you to come up with 5 arguments in favor of this, and then share that with the group, virtually here, in text form, and then have the other group do the same thing, and then, set them loose and say, okay, now point counterpoint with each other for the next 12 hours or so, and I'll kind of moderate things. And I check in on it every once in a while, like, hey, tone that down, that's a little bit harsh there, but that asynchronous delivery, we have to remember that just as our lives are being disrupted, our students' lives are being disrupted. One of my undergraduate students, his primary income is he was going to be doing opera chorus with our company here in town. And of course, that production has been canceled. And that was going to be a nice chunk of money. And then his church job, and he wrote me today and he said, are we going to have to keep the same time for my lesson? And are we going to be meeting at the same time for pedagogy class? How's that going to work? And I said, no, I'm going to try to structure as many things as possible asynchronously, so that if you're taking another job that requires you to work weird hours, you're not tied down to that schedule, that this is flex time here for everybody.
John, am I understanding you right? Then you're saying that you're not, so if your pedagogy class meets Tuesday at 1 o'clock to 2:50, you're no longer going to hold the pedagogy class live like that? Is that what I understood?
What I'm going to, I will have a few times where we will meet in a synchronous fashion, but the majority of what I'm going to do will be things that people can participate in at various times, and I'll, there will be some times where, yes, we do come together and have the little Brady Bunch tiles all over the screen to do some live interacting. But a lot of it I'm gonna have where they can do it on their time. We have to think also, my university is encouraging everyone to go to their home, not like their apartment. You know, if they have a lease and they have to stay, that's fine, but if they're in a dorm, go home to your parents. And that may mean they're there helping their parents out with chores and with babysitting and 5 people competing to use the same computer. So the more that we can give them the flexibility, I think the better off they're going to be, and their learning experience is going to be more positive.
Fascinating. And Kathy, Nick, and Joshua, of you guys, who is also doing it that way rather than staying on a schedule? Nick, are you? You also are.
Well, I'm gonna do a mix.
Okay.
I'm gonna do a mix. I have the luxury that most of my PED courses this semester are fairly small groups. And so some of them, like my grad acoustics course, we're going to try to meet. My graduate practicum course, I'm going to try to have them do some online teaching. It depends on the course, but like my undergrad course, I'm going to do it asynchronously. Probably like I might try to find a meeting time a week where we can meet synchronously, and then the other time I'm going to let them do a project or something. So, you know.
That's fascinating to me. Yeah, John.
Yeah, just to echo what Nick was saying, yeah, I mean, I have a small graduate class going on, and it's only a once a week thing anyway, you know, that we meet for a nice chunk of time. And that group, they have a wonderful camaraderie together, and I want them to have that time together. I mean, we'll talk about this more in the practicum portion, but some of that can be very flexible. Some of that, as Nick was saying, trying to do some online teaching. I think we have a great opportunity for them to learn how to do that. And you know, if I'm using Zoom or something like that, I'm a third person there, and I'm watching it while they interact with their student online. So it's a mix for me, especially with the undergraduates. I'm trying to make it as asynchronous as possible. But, yeah.
Fascinating. Very good. Well, oh, Kathy, did you have something?
I did. I just want to say I've been teaching online classes, obviously in-person classes too, but online classes for 7 years. I went back and looked how long I've been teaching those, and that is the beauty of them, is that there doesn't have to be a particular time, you know, frame in which they occur. Now, I do think that an class that's been meeting in person, I agree. I'm going to try to, and I will get a couple of my classes together to meet as a group, because they'll miss each other, and I think they'll want to do that if they can. But it also works just fine to even say, what's a time we could all get together? Is it 10 o'clock tonight? You know, okay, I can do that. You know, we'll meet for an hour, and I'll take your questions, and we'll, you know, it'll feel like class. But your assignments and everything will be online, and you know, they can work off of that. I think the initial supposition is you're going to do it exactly the way it existed in your schedule at school, but you don't have to do that with online. It can be anytime.
Yeah, I'm hearing that from you guys. Well, let's jump. Oh, Alan, did you have your hand up?
I was just going to say, I think all this is great. And by the way, we have this great all-star panel, which I appreciate. And we have people who are earlier in their career, and then others who've been teaching for 5 years. And so, you know, it's a really great group. And one of the things I'm doing with my students is I created a little Google Forms where I'm asking them basic questions that I wouldn't otherwise probably know, like what's your cell phone number? I mean, I have a lot of my students' cell phone number, but I don't have them all. Are they on the Android or the iPhone? Do you have Wi-Fi access? And what kinds of technology do you have? Do you have a laptop? Are you using an iPad? Are you using your phone only? Do you have multiple devices? It just will help me to know their limitations so that I can try to cater to that and not try to put everybody in the same box, because that's going to be really frustrating for a student who has less access to technology. when, you know, their friends may have multiple devices, and if we're not sensitive to that. And the second thing I want to say real quick is that some of you probably saw this on Facebook today, but Brandon Bain, who's a religion professor at North Carolina Chapel Hill, put together this little revised syllabus. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there are 5 principles. I will post it on the page. Nobody signed up for this, principle 1. 2, the humane option is the best option. 3, we cannot just do the same thing online. And 4, we will foster intellectual nourishment, social connection, and personal accommodation. And 5, we will remain flexible and adjust to the situation. And I really, and he has little points beneath each of those, but I think if we can kind of all make that, some of that our mantra for the rest of whatever time we're having to teach in this format, that would really end up, I think we'll end up having some great experiences through the rest of the semester.
I love it, because different, and for teachers, we're at different stages. We're in finals week, supposedly at UW. We haven't even started spring quarter, and it was just announced today that we will not be going back online, which is into early June. I know others of you are probably in the middle of your spring semester right now. So there's a variety of time frames we need. John.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Alan said. It's nice, the group of people we have here, because Nick is in Mississippi and I'm in Texas, and Alan's in South Georgia, and Josh is in South Carolina right now, and Kathy's in, Princeton area, Northeast. Kari, you're in Seattle. So we have a mix of people who are in major metropolitan areas and maybe a little less so. And a lot of our students, if they go home, may be in a more rural area where their internet access is going to be limited. Nick is pointing yes. We have a lot of first generation students as well that their parents have never been to college, and they may be the only member of their family who is in college and has ever been to college. And so, as Alan was saying, nobody signed up for this, and we have to find the humane option that helps people learn the content, and yet is also understanding that we're dealing with a situation that no one knows how to deal with.
Josh.
But and I agree with John there. And what I really liked about the document that Alan was talking about is that number 4. The thing that I'm really trying to focus on, and the thing that my students were really concerned about, was the social aspect. There's something really beautiful that we get to do, that we have the privilege of doing for the next couple of months at the very least, and that is kind of create that camaraderie that all of us are going to be missing very quickly. And I think that that's kind of exciting. So while it is necessary to pay attention to if somewhat how your students may have different access, their ability to access the internet, there are some students who are going to be like really hungry for the expertise that all of us have to offer, and just the social connection, because we're pack animals.
Well, let's get into let's start getting into this now and helping our teachers that are registered for this on how to move it online. I do somebody just made a really important comment that as people head home, Joseph Michael teaches on the East Coast, but his students are headed home to the West Coast. So to support what you are all saying is not having it at the time the class was scheduled, that's obvious because everybody's at a different time zone. So that is a really good point. And Alan, somebody's asking you to share the questionnaire that was devised. So that will be shared online. Thanks. Okay, so let's take a quick little poll, make sure everybody's still with us. Here it comes. We're asking you, what platform does your institution use for lecture-based courses? So go ahead and select one. So it looks like Canvas for the win at about 41%, and then Blackboard. Other people have a few people desire to learn, and a few people modal. So close poll. Thank you guys for that. So that's interesting. So that gives us a sense. Let's launch into a little bit about Canvas, since that is the most popular. And who wants to share a bit about that? Your experiences, how you set up your class. Anybody, did we talk about who might share their screen?
I think that's Kathy.
Yeah, okay, so now I have to figure out how to do that because I'm not the best.
We'll help you.
So last time when I pulled up attendees, sharing showed up, but this time it's not showing up.
Presenter.
Oh, that's
your presenter now.
okay. Show my screen. Did you all see? Are you seeing my screen? You are?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. Okay, so I'll go to this. Let's see, which one do I want to go to first? I think I'll go to this one. Okay, so beforehand I pulled up several of my classes, and just stop me if you need, because now I'm looking at my screen. I'm not seeing you guys anymore. But here, when you first get into Canvas, if you haven't done this before, you have to request what's called a sandbox, and that's kind of where you play around in the sandbox and you actually create what you think your course is going to look like. Now, you're not creating a whole course. You only have to get through a month or 2 or 3, right, left. So keep that in mind. The other great thing is you can open up your assignments weekly, so you only have to stay a week ahead of your class. So even though you know what you're going to do with the rest of the semester, you may not know what you want to do right now in this new online format. So I sort of organize mine by the week, things to read, and then of course you click on that and it tells you. And when it tells the student. If I click on it right now, let's see if it'll work. It's not going to do that on this format. Oh, great. Okay. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
So here, this was from last summer or 2 summers ago, because I usually teach this class online in the summer. So so here are things to read, and then I have them, much thanks to my mentor at the University of Kansas many years ago, something called a hat journal. And in this, the H stands for huh. I don't know what in the heck you're talking about. Then the A stands for aha. This is something I learned in this reading that I didn't know before, or that suddenly is clear to me. And then the T for hat is transfer. So how can I transfer this information? And you'll notice that I asked them to answer this in discussions. So if you look over here in discussions, I won't click on it because it'll have their names and everything, but this is where their answers will go. If I want them to answer in assignments, only I will see their answers. But there's also a place for me to grade them there and to respond to them, to make comments to them that they can go back and read. I can also edit their documents right on Canvas and make corrections and things. Highlight, and then in a little text box, tell them what I think about that and why I highlighted it. But if they answer in discussions, then everybody in the class gets to read it. And so that's what I was referring to earlier when I said I like for them to talk to each other and then also comment on at least one other classmate. Now this right here is in the final mode that they see, but if I went up, let's see, lots of stuff is in the way here. Let me see if I can do this. Well, there usually is a place to edit. That is not it. But if I wanted to edit, this is a past course, so I don't know how easy for me to do that. And then it tells them, when it's due and all of that. Other things that you can look at on the side, your home is at the very top. Oh dear, no, not that. Oh Lordy, hold on. I'm so sorry. The last thing on earth. Let's go to another one. grades there. And now Alexa's talking to me. So all kinds of things are happening here. But for this class, this, very first time I said, introduce yourself, etc. Let's go back over here. So home is where we are currently. And this, I just chose to have their assignments, their weekly assignments on the home page. You can make announcements by writing to them, and it's sent to them as an email, which is a wonderful thing. Assignments and discussions we've already done. I'm going to skip down to files. On files will be all the various things that you have for them. This course has just started, so I don't have a whole lot there, but you can publish or unpublish it. You can load up all the files that you want to link to their assignments. I don't like syllabus because syllabus takes your syllabus and actually breaks it into assigned dates for things. This one, and it doesn't always conform with the dates. Sometimes Canvas seems to make some things up. So I just don't use that. It works fine the first time, and then afterwards it'll borrow from other years. And so it becomes confusing, I think. But you can put your syllabus under files. Quizzes, I had something up for quiz, maybe here, over here. So if you would like to give a test online, the first thing you do is you click on quizzes, and then you talk to your students here, tell them what kind of test this is going to be. It's going to be a graded quiz, and then you get to shuffle answers, give them a time limit, let them see the correct responses or not, give them multiple attempts or not, et cetera, give them a time. You can have a time that you open it and a time it closes. And then when you create the quiz, you go to questions, you click on that, you say it's going to be a new question, and then it will ask you what kind of question. Do you want a multiple choice, true, false, fill in the blank, all the way through essay? So you have all these choices to give a test or quiz. And then if it is a short answer and you have provided the answer, which they ask you to do, let me go down here. Oh, get out of that, for heaven's sakes. Okay. You say what the correct answer is, what the other possible answers are, and then Canvas will grade it for you. Now I know it's awesome, right? But the bad thing is if you choose essays, which I am very prone to do, you have to grade it yourself. So there is, and I just because I haven't, this is the only way I could get a new quiz here was to go to a course that I haven't yet started. This is like a summer or a fall course coming up. But there's an easy way to go into settings at the very bottom of your left bar, and you'll see all of these things over here to begin with. And if you've created some kind of course before, you can actually import that information. There's a cool thing here called Student View, and if you click on that, you'll see just what the students are seeing, not what you see as the faculty member who's created this. But if you go to navigation right up here, click on that, go to the bottom. Oh dear, hold on. Why is it not letting me do that? Okay, navigation. Maybe I have to click on this or something. No, well, it's not behaving. But if you go down, just scroll all the way down, you will see Zoom there. And you will click on Zoom and enable it, and then save it. And then Zoom will appear in this left bar, and you will actually have Zoom then on Canvas. So you can talk to your whole class at once, and you're not ruled by that 40-minute rule or something, for which you then have to pay if you are, if you're using your own personal account. So what else would you like to know about?
Now that was, this would be a great place if any of the attendees have specific questions about Canvas. Populate my question little box and we'll answer them as best we can. That was wonderful.
Can I ask a question about Canvas? We don't have Canvas, we have Moodle. And one of my most frustrating things about Moodle is that and I don't know, I'm just asking if Canvas is Kansas. If Canvas is the same way, Kansas is a rock band from the 70s. But in
Kathy's
Moodle, when you're done building your shell, one of the most frustrating things about it is you have to actually go in and edit the course settings to make the course viewable to students. Do you have to do the same thing in Canvas?
No, what you do is there's a little button at the top, and I close my screen, but it's so clear.
But it's
Right.
not intuitive in Moodle. So if any of you are using Moodle, it's not intuitive.
Well, let me say in Canvas, it leaves it unpublished, and it says this course is not published. And then when you're ready to have it visible to the students, then you publish it. And it turns, that little thing says published and it turns green. Now, the one thing you have to watch out for is you have to publish, if you're doing it in a module where you have a whole list of assignments for the week, you have to make sure that you also publish the module. So you have one more click when you look on that, but that's it. And I can unpublish certain sections of the module and keep others published. Like if I'm working on something and I'm not quite ready for it to be opened yet, I can publish the rest of the assignments, but not that one. And my students won't see it, but I'll still see it and I can access it.
Great. We're getting somebody commented, oh, hi, Rhonda, my colleague. Many institutions may offer tutorials or webinars for their types of platforms. I've been surprised this week, though, Rhonda, to find out that my colleagues at liberal arts colleges and other places don't have the kind of tech support that we have right in the School of Music. We have a hero, I call him all the time. So I don't think that's the case for others, but I would check on it if your IT can provide you support. Regarding Zoom on Canvas, we're going to head there in just a second. But what did you say, Kathy, after you find Zoom under navigation?
Yes, so you go to navigate, you go to settings, then you go to navigation, and then you scroll. The problem I was having on this is it wouldn't scroll for me, but you have to scroll all the way to the bottom of the screen that you see on navigation, and at the very bottom it'll say Zoom, and there's a little box to click to enable Zoom. Once you enable Zoom, it will show up in the list above, and then you save. There's also a little box at the bottom, a red box that says save. Click save, and now Zoom will appear in that Canvas course as part of that sidebar, the left sidebar. And so you can use Zoom with your class.
Yeah.
So it's settings, navigation, scroll down, enable Zoom, save Zoom. 4 steps.
Thank you so much. That was really clear. Can students upload videos onto Canvas? And if so, how?
Yes.
Do you want to show us?
Let's see if I should do this again. Am I still a presenter? Like, can I show my screen still?
Yes, you are still presenter.
Okay, so let me go to that. Hold on. Where did it go? Not this. Okay, here it is. Let me just pull this up again. All right, so let me go to an assignment maybe. So when I'm creating an assignment, let me put this down. So I'm gonna, let's see if I can get this. I have to name the assignment. Let's just call it NATS, and we'll save this. And now I have NATS. Okay, so now I'll open this. And then I edit. Click on edit. And hello. Okay, so now I have how many points. This is not actually behaving. Okay, maybe now. It's probably because it's under this particular, it's usually very reliable. So I've called it NATS, that's my title. Then here in this text box, I'm going to tell them what I want them to do. You know, what is this assignment? What do I want them to do? I'm going to assign a number of points, and you just simply, you know, give points there. And then where it says submission type, I click on that and I go to online. When I do that, it opens up this. I'm going to let them have a text entry. They can have a website URL. They can have media recordings, and they can upload files. You can restrict what kind. I never do because I've never had any problem with that. But, and then you put all of your, it's assigned to everyone. and then you give your due date and when it's available. And then see right here, also, Nick, save and publish. You can just save it if you're just working on it. But if you save and publish, then everybody can see it. So, and then the next time I come back, I click edit again, and I keep working on it. And I can work on it forever until the course is over. Then it won't let you anymore. Did that answer? And Canvas accepts a lot of things like YouTube and, you name it, lots of things.
That's great.
Yeah, many different kinds of things.
Thank you, Kathy. That's really wonderful. Do you think that we should, I guess I'm wondering if we should orient people to Zoom or if everybody's over. Okay, I think we've discussed Zoom a lot this week, and so we're going to bypass that and move on. If somebody has specific questions, we'll come back to it. I think let's move into additional resources, which would lead us, Nick, to your fabulous, everyone under handouts, there's a little box that says handouts or a little gray bar, and you're going to find 4 handouts there. So do you want to just talk through the digital voice pedagogy resources, Nick, and you can lead us off there?
Sure. So, I mean, I owe Josh a lot of thanks for helping me organize this because it was not nearly this pretty when I started putting it together because I'm not nearly as, aesthetic maybe, visually. Josh added some authors and everything and some durations of the videos, which was incredibly helpful. So starting out, he actually has them color-coded now in terms of, gosh, Josh, you made them colors I can't see.
Oh, no, I realized that too after I was done.
But for those of you who are not colorblind like me, you can tell that there are specific colors depending on the category that he has a little key at the bottom. And a lot of these things are things I imagine many of you who teach PED courses already use. Muscle Premium, which is a really great 3D anatomy app. We've got some basic YouTube videos on respiration. I like that one because that particular video includes the movement of the spine and the hips of everything, sort of more than just the watching the diaphragm go up and down. A little video on how the larynx produces sound, which is not maybe exactly how the larynx produces sound, but it's close enough. And some singing, some of the MRI videos, some of the, some high-speed stroboscopy, which is out of Scott McCoy's book. We've got larynx, a 3D walkthrough that's from an app like Visible Body, a 3D walkthrough of respiration anatomy. And then what we wanted to do was include a bunch of talks. I mean, let me just say this, just in the middle of walking through this list. I think the goal was to provide resources so that our colleagues didn't feel the pressure to create digital content. Because, if you've been teaching online a while, or if you've been like John, creating digital content for quite a while, or if you talk to Scott McCoy about the work that went into creating the books and the digital content of the books, it's a lot of work. I mean, having built, I think, 4 websites now myself, it's a lot of work to curate this kind of content. And like, if I thought back to like now at this point, all the information that we've even had on Vocal Fry is probably a whole voice pedagogy textbook. But our thought was, how can we get videos that are short, that are topical, that are resources that are useful, that could all be in one place, essentially, so that, let's say you've already covered, because I imagine if you're teaching a 3-credit course, and it's sort of a typical process, by this point in the semester, you're probably done with at least basics of physiology and anatomy and respiration and posture, probably. Maybe you're even through phonation. And maybe you've even already completed your book part of the course and you've moved on to your more practical application kind of things. We just, wherever you are, we wanted there to be videos and software. There's links to Mata in here. There's links to Voce Vista Video in here. There's the link to Pink Trombone. Thank you, Josh, for adding that after I asked you to. You know, there's lots of different things. And I don't want to teach you how to, I don't want to tell you how to teach your course. I mean, what I would just say is the great thing about the document that we shared is it's all just point and click and go check out the video yourself. Look, this is what I said last week on the episode when I was talking about course content on the episode last Friday. I think we need to think of ourselves at this point as content curators, not content creators. And if we can focus on the curation, so like watching the video, if it's a 3-minute video, watch it, write an assignment on it, ask your students to watch the video, do the assignment, and voila, there's one of your classes. I mean, given our internet access means, it might be a week of classes. I don't know, it depends on the video maybe. I mean, if you have them watch Ian Howell's local spectral coherence video, that might be an entire week. You know, just I want to encourage the community to be content curators. We're all experts, and we all know how to teach this course. If you're teaching this course, you know how to do it. I believe in you. Let's use our skills to curate content that already exists. For example, let me brag on our dear panelist here. John Nix's assignment and beautiful video of how to model your voice in Voce Vista and Mata is a beautiful example of an assignment that could be a whole class of you giving them John's video and then asking them to turn around the assignment. They don't need Voce Vista. There are free spectrograms apps out there. Maybe you bring the assignment down a level and you say, don't worry about this feature or that feature, or the vibrato analysis or whatever. But there are ways that you could take that beautiful 20-minute video that John put a lot of work in, I'm sure. And how do we take that and allow, you know, give yourself the freedom to say, thank you, John Nix, for creating this beautiful thing. Let's take it to my class.
Love it.
I guess that's my that's sort of what that whole document is about. I mean, you can look, and one other thing about it, we also wanted to include the great NATS resources that we have as the community. So there's a link to Vocopedia on there, which is our open source sort of encyclopedia of Journal of Singing stuff and other things. There's a link to, did we get the national conferences talks on there? I don't know that we did actually.
I don't think they're on there, but the Live Learning Center
Thank you.
is on the NATS page. And we're talking about figuring out how to have some more access during this time. I'll also say, hopefully tomorrow, we will have the Journal of Singing database entirely open to everybody without, you know, normally it's behind a member only resource, but for a period of time, we're going to make that open because I know I've already gotten several emails about students wanting to do research and not having access to their libraries. So for those who haven't used that, you go to the Journal of Singing page, there's a search of the Journal of Singing, and there's the usual search as if you were doing a library search, and it pulls up, you know, if you do a topic search or an author search, it pulls up a big list of articles. You can click on any of those, and you can I want you to be careful because there's a download the issue and a download the article button. You do not want to download the issue every time you want to download an article, or you will have a lot of big files on your computer. So make sure you click on the download the article button, and it'll pull the article right up for you to scan and see if that's, you know, something you need for the class.
We're getting a note from Linda Rose. Did you know that Visibody just announced 3D for account holders? Free 3D for account holders. Pretty amazing, she says.
Did not know that.
Yeah, Visible Body. I'm so sorry I butchered that. My eyes are tired. Visible Body. Actually, we're going to take a second, see if our attendees are still with us, and take a quick poll. Are you aware of free resources that are available on NATS official website, nats.org? Oh, look at that. Go yeses. So I'm going to close the poll at 71% yes and 25% no. So there you go, 29%, your night just got made. Anything else about the NATS resources, you guys, or about this digital voice pedagogy resources?
Well, the last thing I wanted to say about that document is, and honestly, I owed Josh the thanks for this idea earlier today, was the idea of including some really practical nuts and bolts teaching. So that's why we included the videos that John made of Barbara Doscher's lectures, the voice lessons of William Vennard that are on YouTube. If you've not watched those or listen, I mean, it's just audio. Please listen to those Vennard voice lessons. Please, 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 please. And I mean, of course, Barbara's lectures. I mean, what a great gift to the community, you know? So that was just the last point I wanted to make. Go ahead. Yeah.
And I think that's the broader point that we were trying to make with this document, that there's all of this material out there, and as we're trying to figure out how to make these classes really effective learning experiences for our students, there's something to be said for, and also make them kind of social gathering points for students when they're cooped up in their houses. There's something to be said for using these resources and then using them to facilitate discussions, which I know all of us do this anyway, but it's worth kind of emphasizing that we can be doing this. Again, we're being forced into best practice. It is easier to have a discussion, and all of us do that anyway.
You know, something that Josh, you guys have all sort of hit on is this idea of using the course as a community building thing. And an idea had just occurred to me that I hadn't even thought of. And I know, forgive me, students, when you watch this playback, I know that you don't love Facebook. I know that you're on the Snapchat and the TikTok and the Gram. However, Facebook does great watch parties. So it might be great with your class if they're all on Facebook to create. One of the things I do for Practicum already is we have a private Facebook, not private, we have a hidden Facebook group that we use for Practicum when I have them all teaching online. But I mean, one of the things you could do with Facebook is have a digital watch party. You know, put the video up and say, hey, 2 o'clock, we're gonna do a digital watch party on Facebook. It's a 3-minute video. Be there. It's great.
I love it. Let me just see if we have any questions, but while we're in this kind of segment. Speaking of uploading videos, can you do that in discussions and not just in assignments? That was back when Kathy was.
Right. You know, sometimes I'm not 100% sure. So what I often do is I'll build the assignment no, I do build it in discussions. Yeah. Yeah, you could put them in that text box, that initial text box. So like if I'm uploading a YouTube or whatever it might be, I can put it right there, and then they'll have it. And then they can upload it in their answers. I mean, upload whatever they want in their answers. You can do the same kind of, yes, I can allow this, this, and this in your answer. So I'm 98.8% sure that is true. One of the things I just throw in here right now is that I don't think that our students listen to enough music, which is maybe an odd thing to say, but you know, I think that we all need to listen to more music. There's the rare person who's always listening, but so a great thing you can do is put links to all kinds of things that you want them to listen to, whatever the pedagogical reason may be, whether it's to listen to how well somebody does something, or maybe that even a great singer is struggling with a particular issue, and have them listen to it. And they have to listen to it if they're going to write about it. In class, a few people will answer. Online, everybody has to answer.
Great. I want to just assure everyone that the documents, the 4 handouts, we will make sure that they're available through NATS chat Facebook page, and they will be attached to the replay of this chat. I think we've got that sorted.
I'll just add, you also can just click right on the handout link there, and it'll pop up in your browser. And then usually you have a little download button in your browser, and you can download it right to your desktop.
Okay, a couple questions. Let's see if I can get through. Where do we access the free information? Anna, I'm not sure. And
At nats.org?
That's what I'm,
That's the question.
I'm not certain. She then just says that I would really love to listen to the William Bernard audio tracks.
Oh, that's on YouTube. It's on that document. But if you just search William Bernard on YouTube, it'll pop up.
And go ahead, Alan.
I was just going to say, just make sure you see there's a little handouts tab. And if you do a little drop down there, all 4 of the handouts that we're going to use today should be there. And you should be able to just click on them and they'll show up. But we will also have them posted next to the video on the NATS chats page when we get it up tomorrow.
And also the William Bernard at the USC library, you can access, is where all that lives now. Ryan Beatty just wants to say that he's seconding that the discussion section is a perfect place for these types of assignments. It's great for the students to have the opportunity to collaborate and comment on each other's responses. So opportunity for collaboration. Has anyone tried having students make models from home? The laryngeal model, that's the hot thing now.
Yeah.
Have you guys done that?
And then they just take a picture of it and upload that so that we know they made it, you know. So there's lots of different ones. There's that vocal process thing that does the you know, it's old as the hills, but it's still really good. The little tilting paper larynx. And then there's Play-Doh and clay and magic whatever, and you guys know all these different things, but all different kinds of ways to build models. And then there's specialized 3D models, but I'm just talking about things people can do at home that they can get from, you know, the grocery store or whatever.
We need to pause for a second. I'm getting a couple notes, Alan, that after the last poll that has gone, the screen has gone black, but they can still hear us. And I'm done with the poll. I didn't share results. Let me do that and then be done with it. Hide results. Well, I've only heard that from 2 people, but I'm gonna hope that that's not the case for everybody. I can still see everyone. Okay, I'm so sorry. It looks like it's a couple people that have that. You might log out and log back in. We're gonna, screen is black. But some people are fine. So I'm gonna keep going. I'm so sorry. Did that again and it went black. I saw you, but now that I did that again, it went black. All right, we're doing our best. We're gonna keep moving forward. Give me a second to get back. Lots of questions are coming in. Are we going to give any tips on Blackboard? I'm not familiar with that. Are any of you?
I have used it, but it's been a long time. Oh, so I would feel nervous about it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's been 7 years.
We have Blackboard here, but I use it primarily for housing content. I'm not nearly as sophisticated as Kathy is with Canvas in terms of online assignments and things like that, but I have a feeling that I'm going to become a better expert very, very soon.
I've used Blackboard before, and it's not, you know, all of these learning platforms have a basic structure that is somewhat similar. Okay, so a lot of the things Kathy showed you, that kind of functionality is going to exist in Blackboard as well. They may just call it something because they need to call it something else, so they can call it Blackboard and sell it to you. So, you know, it's just a little bit different, but you can do most of the same things in some way, shape, or form. So I encourage you also, of course, there's lots of IT people on campuses, especially those that are, you know, really doing workshops for your particular platform.
Thanks,
I loved Blackboard when I used it. I forgot. I used that several years before I started using Canvas. But now that I've been in Canvas for a long time, I don't remember the details of Blackboard.
So I'm hearing from a couple people that they use Blackboard for online class and it's very similar to Canvas. So we'll just reassure everyone. And I also am hearing from Raymond Sage, if you're on the app, just close out and re-enter if suddenly we've gone blank. Okay, gosh, we've got lots of questions. So, and I think it's a good place to go through a few of them. For those of us who didn't attend previous chats, could you please talk about Zoom?
I think
Yes.
somebody's doing a couple of little things in Zoom, aren't they, in a minute?
I mean, we had talked about just going to Voce Vista or a phone app or something through Zoom. I mean, we can do that.
Let's
Yeah, we
head.
can do that.
Yep, let's head that way. There was a question that was going to beautifully segue into that, but now there's too many questions coming in and I can't keep track. So do you want to go ahead with that, move into that portion?
Sure.
So Nick, are you going to show that Voce Vista? That's cool.
So do you want me to, do you want to show them my screen?
Yes, sorry, Nick. Are you waiting for control?
Oh, wait, how do I do that?
I'll give it to you. I'm going to make you presenter. Thanks for your patience, everyone.
Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Great. So if I was in Zoom, let me get rid of this. If I was in Zoom and I decide to share my screen, I can easily go ahead and populate my desktop or a program I've got up. But you want to click Share Computer Sound, or else you'll have other problems. So that you're sharing your system sound, and then voila, I'm sure it's behind our chat, but voila, you've got your Eden Espinosa belting really high. So there you go. Now, the one other thing about Zoom that I would say, actually, let me close this, is if you want to also, if you only have like a spectrogram that you're using from your phone, let's say, you can, if you click on this one, iPhone, iPad via AirPlay, and Chadley Ballantyne showed me this the other day. I didn't even know this was a thing. And I share that. I can, on my phone, as soon as it connects, voila, there's my phone. And I could open up my spectrogram app that I use on my phone, and I could show that to my class too, if it eventually starts. And there you go. There's a spectrogram on my phone to Zoom coming to you in the webinar. Now, we freely admit that that feature, that AirPlay feature, only works, of course, in an Apple product. Sorry. But though that's, I mean, you could do the same thing too. I think even more importantly, perhaps, if you wanted to have Mata up, but that'll probably take Wine a second to actually get up and running. But you could do the same thing with any program. I mean, whether just PowerPoint or whatever it was, you know, you could, it's easy in Zoom once you're in a meeting and you've invited everybody. One thing that we've been trying to preach to people, there's Mata coming up. But one thing that we've been trying to preach to people in general with Zoom, particularly for voice lessons, is to get your original sound turned on. I know that we've seen this video floating around about, Kathy shared it, and Ian and Chadley and Josh and Kayla and I have been playing with it like nonstop. But if you go into your audio settings in Zoom and you click on Advanced, make sure that this button is clicked, show in meeting option to enable original sound for microphone, and then we have these two disabled. This is the setup that we've been using. I think it's the same setup they share in that video. It's been floating around the interwebs, and you know, and then voila, you've got your stuff. So I mean, that's the basics.
I want to make sure, Nick, will you go back to that for the advanced settings? Because I don't think in that Rhonda video that he had the to disable. I think he had all those auto. I could be wrong, and I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. I thought that was interesting, and I wondered with you more tech-savvy people if that was.
Josh, do you have a comment on that?
I believe that by clicking it that you automatically disable all of that, but I'm not certain of that.
I had students go in and do the two disables and also click that box, and I just
it's probably safer that way.
Okay.
But I seem to remember reading somewhere that that if you click that button at the top left, that it automatically disables it all.
Okay. Let's take another pause for some questions before.
Have we gone away from my screen? Have we, just so we're all good? Does everybody actually have everybody again?
I hope so. I think people are getting that figured out. And we are, just so everybody knows, we're going to head in 6:37. So we're going to head into talking about quizzes, how to do that. I think there's some good questions here about that. And then practicum. I think there's some great questions, but let's pick up just a few questions. Noelle wants to know, how does Nick use the hidden Facebook group for Ped Practicum? And we could save that till we talk about practicum, or go into it now, Nick.
Well, I mean, it's really simple. I mean, you just create a group and you make it hidden. Anytime you create a group on Facebook, there's like 5 options or 4 options. You can make it public, you can make it private, and you can make it secret. I think it's actually secret is the word they use. Then you just send them invites to the group. You know, they have to be on Facebook. I mean, that's the downside of it. And you just send them invites, and then the only people then what they can do is, what I've done with Practicum before is they go live on Facebook, but in that hidden group. And then the only people that can see it are myself and the other people in that group. Nobody else on Facebook can see it. And since I'm the admin, they can't add anybody or take anybody out.
And what do you use it for then, Nick? What she wants to know, not how to create the group, but what I misunderstood.
When I have a larger practicum class and I have not been able to be directly in the room when they're doing their teachings, I'll have them have their lesson with their student and broadcast it so that I can watch it, make notes, the class can watch it, that kind of thing. And I've had the class write up reports on the lesson, basically feedback for the teacher, and then also just some notes to me, whatever. But that's how I've used that.
And when you activate, can they all see each other?
Yes. If they're in the group and you go live in the group, everybody can see it.
Okay.
But I do warn them on that assignment that it's actually in the assignment. If they start making derogatory or inflammatory comments, I'm gonna delete them and block them.
Okay. She says thank you. You're welcome. Can anyone speak to the differences between accessing Canvas or Zoom on a mobile device versus laptop?
Well, I can talk about Canvas. And it was Canvas, and what was the other, Zoom?
Oh.
Yeah, I've done that too, but not so much. So somebody else can talk about that. Canvas works on your phone, but sometimes you can't access absolutely everything. Like if somebody's left you a comment, a student has left you a comment on their assignment, you can access their assignment, but sometimes you can't see the comment. So there's certain things you do have to go to the computer for, but most of it can be done and I've traveled and had to use my phone sometimes, to even grade assignments and read them on my phone. And all of those things work. It's just that sometimes those little additional things, it's easier on a computer.
And Ariana Wyatt is adding that you can't change the settings in Zoom on a mobile device, only on a laptop. So it doesn't work well for sound on mobile device.
That
Also,
is correct.
and also recording. I believe they can't record from their phone or iPad. They can't hit record, only from, am I wrong on that?
I think that's correct.
I think I've heard that in the last week. So.
If I can just jump in really quickly, one caution about, I mean, I have a Facebook group for my studio, and they have, you know, when they sing in seminar class, and then I post the videos, and then they watch them, you know, to do self-evaluation and so on, and people will write nice little encouraging comments and stuff. But I've been alerted to the FERPA thing, and which is that if the platform that you have them interacting on, and they are doing things that are getting graded, that it has to be, I mean, I'm not an expert on this, but some of this came out on my campus. They were saying, you know, they're trying to drive us to use the resources they have, so which is WebEx and some things like that, rather than using Zoom, which is not one of the things that the university, I guess, has licensed under their umbrella. So that may be a concern for some people. Again, I'm not an expert. Alan, maybe you know more about that than I.
I read some of the things that I saw today on social media, and I did a little more investigating. And I mean, I suppose that could be an issue. I would, you know, check with your campus on that for a definitive answer. I'm not going to tell you not to do that, but I think many of us probably will. And I also noted today that the government has relaxed all HIPAA regulations for the medical community on telemedicine and other things that normally would be extremely private and of a really protected nature. So my feeling is they ought to also relax the FERPA regulations equally in that matter. If they're doing medical things like that, surely they can also do this. They probably just haven't thought about it yet.
They have other more important things on their minds.
I'm being told by Wendell Davis that you can use Zoom in Blackboard and link it to the left menu. Linda Rose is saying Zoom doesn't work well with Safari search engine, must use Google Chrome. However, student can access on smartphone with limitations. I actually use Zoom on Safari search engine and don't have any problems.
Yeah.
I mean, Zoom's its own client on a computer. So, I mean, if you're trying to log in on the browser, make sure you have the client downloaded so you're not trying to have those dual, I mean, it runs way smoother in the client than on the.
Do you have suggestions for any lab assignments they can do from home? This is Ariana Wyatt. I was going to assign lab assignments with Voce Vista in my voice lab, but we can't use any of that anymore.
I would just, yeah, Josh will probably jump in here too. You know, as Nick was just saying, you know, there are freeware things that you could use, and if you don't have Voce Vista, you could still find a free spectrogram app or something of that nature, and you could give them a little project like, okay, using the vocal fry method that is in the reading, or that you could watch this video. You know, I've got one, there are several of them out there. Measure your, you know, R1, R2, R3 frequencies, you know, following the model shown on this video and how it's described in your book. And, you know, they could still do it even if they don't have Voce Vista, and even if they don't have a great mic. I mean, something is better than nothing. The better the mic and the better the platform that they're running on, obviously the better it's going to be. But just to have the experience of trying the task out, why not? Josh, you want to jump in?
Well, I mean, since everybody's, getting external mics, it's going to be wonderful, the lab results that we're going to be getting. No, I mean, there are some really cool people in this chat who are doing some really wonderful stuff with vocal pedagogy labs that I'm sure that if you ask people, they're willing to share some of these things that use freeware. I mean, yeah, there's plenty of things you can. I know Westminster still uses a lab that uses freeware that has everything written out, where you literally make your own vowel chart. And
Josh created, by the way, when he was.
Well, and some other
yeah,
things that are low tech, no tech, like you can do a maximum phonation time on, on 2 notes in your range on 2 different vowels. Try, take a nice comfortable breath and sing the note, as long as you can, timing with your watch or your phone, record the results and take the average. That takes no tech other than a watch or the phone that they constantly are checking, at the end of your class because they're looking, okay, it's time to go. Or an SZ ratio, or,
exactly.
any number of those kind of things that don't require highfalutin technology, but are still cool things that are pedagogy principles that, are relevant to a class.
And MATA, it's been that Nick showed us a second ago is freeware, and doing a search of all the wonderful kinds of 3D anatomy things. Visible body is so great, but when we're not using it anymore because of financial reasons, I just made up a lab where they have to find things online, and they do, and they're beautiful. And then they have to be more creative. They have to kind of come up with all the stuff, identify the muscles and their function and their origin and insertion and things like that. So yeah, when I started teaching voice science online, I had to come up with labs where they were all done without without a lab, because obviously we have a lab at Westminster, but not in the homes of people around the world who take these online courses.
And if you wanted to get really creative, I mean, you could literally look online, and there are linguistics labs, like acoustic phonetics labs, all over the internet, where you can do voice onset timing, which is a super simple task. And I don't really see it talked about in vocal pedagogy circles, but it's a super simple task, and it's a great lab, and it's something that an undergrad acoustic phonetics course would be having them do anyway.
And I mean, to add to the simple things, one of my favorite things that I do in acoustics is just take different length pieces of PVC, and then I take my free tone generator app on my phone, and I'll just bring it to the device. Or even better yet, just take the tone generator app on your phone, put it up to your mouth, sanitarily in our current environment, put it up to your mouth and shape the vowels, and you can find FR1 of the vowel series, because all of a sudden the phone will get some interference, and then it'll get loud, and then it'll have some interference, and what a great little fun thing. They could write down their resonant frequencies of their basic vowel shapes. I mean, what a cool little thing.
Great idea.
And let's not forget other kinds of assignments. I've had my class, as an extra credit assignment, for instance. Okay, get on the internet, find a voice-related YouTube video, and write a short summary, which you will share with the class, and then everybody watches all the videos. Or I also had them do an extra credit assignment where go to Wikipedia and find things that are not there. And then I reported some of those things back in some voice science meetings, actually, voice science committee meetings. I asked my students, go prowl through Wikipedia and find topics that are missing, like EGG, for instance. So those are, again, fairly low-tech kinds of things that people can do. I think just sit and brainstorm for half an hour, or throw a question out on the NATS members only chat or some of the other forums, and just say, hey, I'm kind of stuck here. Give me some ideas of other things. And people will write in with great ideas. I sat there watching Kathy talk about, and I was like, oh, I need to be taking notes.
There's a replay. There will be a replay up tomorrow morning for you, John. I want to, before we move into talking about creative ideas for quizzes, Ian Howell is just throwing out an idea that if you've been forced to change plans, RE, any visiting artists in the season, consider using those funds to hire potentially hurting professional non-academic teachers to create specialized webinar videos for your students. There's a lot of specialized knowledge out there, works great for asynchronous assignments. Thank you, Ian Howell. Great idea. Shout out for the independent teachers. So let's move into quizzes and tests. And Nicholas, last night was so interesting that we had a teacher who teaches here in America who now has a student who's gone home to Tokyo. And you had a wonderful idea. Do you remember what you posted last night?
Well, I mean, we've already talked about it tonight. It was just that the idea was just to bring up one of the quizzes in Visible Body, which are already there. You could bring up, say, laryngeal anatomy. She was specifically asking about an anatomy quiz. And on the anatomy quizzes in Visible Body, what you could do, I actually thought through it after I put that video up. I was so exhausted last night, and I'm sure like all of us, our days right now are kind of like, I can't imagine Alan Henderson right now. But what you can do in the quiz is you can actually highlight one of the muscles. So it'll ask you like, point to the thyroarytenoid muscle. And what you could do is the teachers, you could basically pose them all as true and false questions. And you could say, is this the thyroarytenoid muscle? And you could highlight whatever muscle you wanted to highlight, and then let them answer in the chat response in Zoom if you were broadcasting it. I do maybe wonder about the FERPA things and whatever. Okay, all right, I get it. Maybe, I don't know, have them quickly email you or private message you somehow or something. But then, you know, you may not actually have selected, you know, whatever muscle it's asking you for, or maybe you did and it was true. But that would be one quick and easy way. That's a pre-programmed quiz. Now, I mean, if you assign them the Visible Body quizzes as assignments, then maybe don't do that as an assessment. But
great. Do you all consider grading and testing standards to be adjusted? Will you consider somehow adjusting? Do you want to speak to that for a moment? John, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. Both of my final exams for the undergraduate and the graduate class that I'm teaching this semester are take-home finals. Of course, that means a lot of essays in a lot of respects. But one thing that I do, and I'm freely admitting I stole this idea from our own Josh Glasner, is there is a take-home written portion, and then there is an oral part that we would do synchronously, where I play a video of a singer and they're watching it, and then we have a discussion about that singer, you know, and I have some prompts and so on, so that they have you know, some essay things that they can write, but then, you know, here are the following vocal issues, and then list 3 corrective techniques you would use to deal with them. Okay, so that's the written portion, but then, you know, there's also an oral portion of the think on your feet, because here's this person, they're your new student, what are you going to do? So that gets into some of the practicum part as well, but I like doing a mix of some take-home things and then some in-person things, and I feel like it benefits those who know how to get their fingers on the resources they need and that have taken good notes in class and have done the readings. They're not scrambling because it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we talked about that in class, and let me see, okay, there's that handout, and which would be the thing, they're able to access things. And then I have some things to make sure that they've not just learned where to look for the answers, but they've really internalized those things.
Let's use this opportunity, since you brought up practicum, to move into the practicum. And I'll remind our attendees that there are 3 other handouts available to you, generously shared by our panelists, to guide you through both teacher voice lesson observation and observer lesson evaluation. But let's start big picture. How are you guys going to change your practicum this semester, quarter, in light of the online learning?
Who wants to go first?
John, why don't you go first? Because you were the one that kind of started that on Facebook yesterday. It was so generous of you.
Well, sure. A couple of things. Normally with my undergraduate students, they have a student that they teach, and I observe them 3 times. The first time I just observe them and I write comments and share the comments. We have a little powwow. The second time I watch them teach their student, and it is graded, and then they watch themselves and they do a self-evaluation which they turn in. And then the third time they teach their student in front of the class, and I evaluate and the students give them feedback. Restructuring that for online delivery, I'm encouraging them, if possible, to teach their students online. I'm organizing it into, they can do that assignment, or, maybe they would do 2 videos where they watch a singer and they do an evaluation of the strengths and weaknesses of that singer. They devise vocal leases for them. They think of other repertoire they might use or corrective techniques they might use. So essentially they're doing the lesson planning part. They're doing the sophisticated listening and observation skills and then lesson planning. They aren't actually doing the physical teaching part. But another option, which brag on one of my former grad students, Paul Patinka, he said, have them teach their roommate, or teach a family member. Maybe maybe they've gone home. It's better than them not teaching anyone, and you could watch that. You could set up a Zoom session and you could watch that. So I think there's a lot of creative ways we can do things. With my graduate students, my grad class this semester is actually on pedagogy of teaching class voice and working with choirs. And their big teaching experience that they had in the second half of the semester was to go into one of our choirs or to go into an oral skills class and basically do a 10-minute lesson. So it might be some vocalizing, it might be some solfege, it might be some movement-oriented things. And what I'm having them do is liaise with the teacher that they were going to be working with. Does that teacher still want them to prepare something? And if so, then they will prepare a video lesson, which the teacher will then distribute to their class. I will get a copy of it and I'll evaluate it that way. If not, they just do a mock-up of, okay, this is my video of me leading this class that isn't going to happen, but I can see their lesson plan and I can see the activities that they had planned. So trying to make lemon juice or make lemonade out of the lemons.
And I'll remind people at this point, this is a good spot, that as you ask your students to now learn to teach online, they're going to have the same questions we did. So one, you can use the resource of the NATS chat from last Saturday, where we talk about that and get people set up, or encourage them to join the NATS chat FB page. And this is not an advertisement for NATS chat, but I just happen to know the content there. And there's a lot of great tutorials out there right now for helping people get online to deal with things like the delay. Don't forget that thanks to Alan Henderson, App Accompanist is offering 30-day free trial. They just launched Android yesterday, although there was some problems with it, it seemed like, for my students. But so they can use App Companist because the students need to play App Companist at their end. So anyway, there's resources to send your students for that. Yes.
Yeah,
Whomever.
and an update on the Android. Yeah, they had a few problems with it yesterday. They're moving it to the Google Store platform, and so as soon as they get that, we'll post that, and they'll post it on their website as well. But it looks good, and I've gotten a couple of people tested it today, I know, for them, and they're excited about it. So just keep staying on pins and needles until it's here. It's almost here for you.
And we won't go down
Android.
the rabbit hole, but to that end, the questions that we also discussed on Saturday about the external microphone, Joshua, of course, has done some phenomenal posts on that. So I'm sure he would love for you to Facebook friend him and watch some of those. So we're not going to go down those rabbit holes tonight because those resources are out there. Yes, Nick.
Can I say one thing about the that App Companist thing? When Ian messaged me that idea about if you have any departmental resources left, or that you have like some personal resources left, I think one of the courses that might be very valuable, if you have a collaborative pianist colleague who has lost a bunch of income, having them do a short video presentation on how a collaborative pianist and a voice teacher work together in a lesson, or like what a collaborative pianist needs from a voice teacher or a student, might be a great way, if you have those funds, if you are able to encourage one of our colleagues by saying, hey, here's $300 or $150 or whatever it is, $50, I don't know, whatever your wonderful resources are, $500. And could you make a short video for me on how a voice teacher and a collaborative pianist work together, or how a voice teacher can best communicate to a collaborative pianist? I think it would be a great topic.
Thank you. Yes, Kathy.
I just wanted to jump back into something that John was talking about so well. And I'm not actually teaching the practicum this year. Sometimes I do, but I'm not this year. But when I do, even when it was in person, I always have them video record all their teaching. And when I first started doing this, and Josh will know how this went because it was too much. Everybody recorded everything and everybody watched everything, and it was just endless. But I learned my lesson, and now what I do is I look at a number of them. I ask for a number of them, but the first couple of lessons I watch all the way through, and then I ask the student select something they think they did really well in that video that they have, and then something that they're struggling with and they just can't figure it out. And so, and then they load those up for the rest of the students to look at, as well as myself. And we offer different helpful, hopefully, comments on that. And that's been a pretty helpful thing to do. Also, when there aren't people to teach, like you said, pull in your little sister or your roommate or your whatever, and use them to your mother, your grandmother, your granddad, and teach them, and they will have a wonderful experience. And it's so great for the student. In observing others teaching, John, you should go into this again, but observing people online is just perfect. And John's already done a great thing of putting together a whole bunch of audition videos that people, and sent them out today to everyone. So that's a wonderful resource that is available now. But I'll also, part of our practicum is also observing wonderful teachers, like master teachers. We also have a teaching internship class for our online students, so they can observe 3 teachers, 3 students each, 3 lessons each. So it's 27 hours of observation. But if they live in some place where they don't have that richness of resource to find 3 teachers that they think would be really wonderful that they could learn from, then we go to the internet and we look at master classes and that Joyce DiDonato or people like that put up, Renee Fleming, and we look at lessons that really good teachers are putting up, because obviously everybody can put up everything. But so we don't want them watching just anything, but even that can be instructive. But maybe we're looking for them to find role models of people that they want to teach and learn from. So those were just a few things that came to mind about it. And I should mention that the two form handouts that I contributed, one of them, the observer is you observing other teachers, and that I've expanded it a lot, but thanks to Jim Doherty at University of Kansas, who originally gave that to me and to everybody in class, but with his permission to use it. And then the other one is, like you talked about, John, observing your own lesson. So the student videos his own or her own lesson, and then looks back at it and answers a series of questions about, what their goals were, how they accomplished, what were the most effective things they did, what were the least effective, teaching tools that they used, and how would they set new goals for the next time. I think that it's good to reflect back on what you just did.
Josh.
And in terms of what Kathy was talking about with the master teacher observations, one of the really, not to make light of the situation, but one of the really possibly beneficial things that's happening all around the country is everybody's going to be teaching online. I saw some people on Facebook already saying, hey, if you want to observe my lessons, just shoot me a DM. That could be really, that could lead to some really significant growth for all of us. Mm-hmm. I don't have to be in Princeton to observe Kathy teach. I don't have to be in Mississippi to observe Nick teach, and so on and so forth. Yeah, like I can, again, there are FERPA issues there, but assuming one was able to navigate that and get permission from students, I could see that being a really beneficial and fulfilling process.
And
yeah, I'll just kind of taking the online studio, the open studio model one step further.
Well, and actually, I'm doing that for my private studio, where I'm actually creating a Zoom room recurring for 5 hours during the week, and then all of my students have that link, and they can come in anytime to watch their colleagues, watch their peers rather, learn.
Great. That's a great way to deal. Some of us ask students to observe other people's lessons, in our school, other teachers in our department's lessons. That's a great solution to that if you kind of know what some of our colleagues are doing. I also think, it's a great exercise to send them to YouTube and ask them to find certain things, bad examples, good examples of, similar things, and talk about them or write about them. Why is that a bad example to show to your student, versus another example? And start, even though I know we all try to do that in our studios anyway, but it's different when we're trying to give them skills as a teacher to be able to think on the teacher's side of that exercise, when they probably were given that exercise when they were a freshman as a student. So that's good.
Yeah, to follow what Alan was saying, say you've got a young female student in a pedagogy class, and she says, I don't know the first thing about teaching men. Okay, well, here, go to YouTube, and I want you to find 3 videos of women teaching male students, and I want you to evaluate those. And then I want you to watch 3 videos of men teaching men, and I want you to evaluate those, and then come back to me and tell me what you've learned. I mean, that's just, an example.
That William Vennard video of him teaching the mezzo, Laura Kate, is a great example of seeing that, someone, different voice types teaching each other. Great example, because it's a great lesson.
Well, you guys must be doing a great job of answering people's questions, because they're not coming in, which is wonderful. It means we're covering what we need to cover. Alan, is there anything else you think that?
Let me show this survey. I don't think I really showed it, and it might help some people look because it's really not that difficult. I mean, I use Google Forms, so can you see that? Yeah, you're
Yes.
seeing it. You're also seeing my messy desktop, but that's okay. And so I just have a little, I'm teaching fiction right now, so I have a little survey here done in Google Forms. The nice thing about it is as they fill it out, of course, it automatically dumps it into a Google Sheet for me. So I'm not asking them to send me various emails that I have to then collate. So, you know, I asked them about their phone. I asked them about Wi-Fi access. How else do you plan to access course materials? Did you take your textbook home? An important question to ask right now. You know, my son's at the University of Georgia. He came home last week for spring break. You know, he got an email today. You need to come move all your stuff out within 2 weeks. You know, and of course, his mother's saying, "You are not leaving this house." And so it's, you know, it's that kind of thing that our students are facing as well. And they, you know, probably didn't take their textbooks, some of their textbooks home at least.
I asked mine if they took their music home.
I asked them that. Yeah. I've asked my private students that. And I called it GAT addiction because Georgia Southern, the football teams has this GATA saying, and it means something else, but colloquially it means get after their asses. So we're going to get after addiction's ass this semester, the rest of the semester.
I love it. That may be the perfect ending to a NATS chat ever. Well, if you guys have, I mean, I think we can bring it to a close. If you guys have any final thoughts before I do a little wrap up here. Any
Sorry,
other?
we had one more question on the polls, right?
We did all
We had
except
one more.
one more. Would you like me to do that? What textbook do you use? Here we go. It's very exciting,
Oh,
everybody.
okay.
What textbook do you use for your pet? And we couldn't list all, oh, there should be, oh, here. Yeah, we couldn't list all of them that Josh had originally listed. I'm gonna, here we go, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, close the poll and share results. Your Voice and Inside View, Your Voice, the Basics, The Vocal Athlete, Structure of Singing, and then some other. So thank you for doing that.
Top 4, right?
That's, what's that?
I said I got the top 4, right?
Oh, yeah, which didn't surprise you, does it? Surprise you?
No.
No, and I'm sure the other are lots of supplemental. Good. Well, any other final?
Yeah, John has a great question, John Price.
Oh.
As you might expect. Other than asynchronous or synchronous, are there other advantages to teaching PED online, things you're excited about developing now that you've kind of entered this sphere more fully?
It's all about the interaction, right? Like we're being forced to like think about people individually. We're being forced to think about what their needs are, and we're being forced to of our own needs probably make connections with people.
You know, I think that when I first started teaching online, I was not sure that I thought that was the best format. You know, I'm so oriented to people and to sort of reading them and finding empathy with them and all that kind of stuff. And oh my goodness, you know, you absolutely do make those connections with people online. And furthermore, they have more thoughtful answers sometimes than the quicker answer that we get, you know, in a live situation, because they take some time with it. And if they don't, you tell them that they need to go deeper, and then they will when you don't give them full points for their answer. But I found it to be a very rich experience, and bringing people from all over, that's not going to happen because in this 6 weeks or whatever that people have left, or 2 months, so much because we already know our students. But should you have the opportunity to teach further online, we have people from all over the world. It's such a rich experience. I love it now. I love both.
I'll just add, as a digital content creator, myself, I do think it is a opportunity for connection. That was the word I wanted to go to, because honestly, all 5 of my co-panelists here have been on Vocal Fry. I'm very grateful for that they've all been. Josh plays sort of a central role right now, but I think that one of the things we've realized, that Sarah and Michael and I have realized in this venture, is that even through a computer screen like this, and sometimes through headphones, because our show is a radio show, not a video show, a lot of times just that conversation. So I would encourage you, go check out NATScast, go check out the 4 shows that are part of NATScast now: Holistic Voice, New York Vocal Coaching, and Full Voice Podcast, as well as us, and allow a conversation maybe about something joyful to happen in your ears, because we've got so much sort of gloom and doom right now, that just hearing some people having fun, it might be worth it just from a human soul point of view. So there's my connection thing.
I love it.
Yep.
We are, just so you know, go ahead, Alan, did you want to say something?
Go ahead.
Well, I was
going to just say.
Go ahead, Alan.
Because I think we're getting ready to wrap up. So I just wanted to say how much I appreciate all our colleagues. NATS just has the most amazing group of people, and I'm grateful. I've always been grateful, but it's in times like these that our gratefulness just kind of shoots through the roof, because we have so many generous colleagues who are sharing their expertise, sharing their resources, just coaching people through things that they're having difficulty with, that they're, have taught many times, and so they know how to get right to it. It's just really amazing to see our community come together. And I do want to remind people of a couple of things that Karen mentioned at the beginning. One is we're opening the NATS event calendar. We're converting that to a place where anyone can post a concert that they're streaming. So if you have the benefit, if you're lucky enough through the rest of the semester that your institution has worked out some way for your students to stream their senior recitals, or if you have students or former students, professional singers who are going to be streaming things, we'll be putting out some graphic and some more link, kinds of information for everybody. But it's real easy to go to the events tab now and even enter in an event. There's a big block. You can put whatever you want to in that block. If you're putting your concert behind a paywall where you're asking pay what you can or whatever, that's all welcome. And we want to share the music. We want kind of keep the music going as well. We've talked about a lot of instructional things in these chats this week. But what we're all about, of course, is using all of this to make, to build great singers and help people be the most creative artists they can be. So I hope you'll kind of start spreading that word about the availability of that and start populating that with concerts, because we really want to try to use that as a platform for this kind of thing.
And to that end, I think we're also, Alan and I are discussing, where do we take these special edition NATS chats from here, because we feel like we needed to immediately serve the needs and keep our teachers teaching, our independent teachers teaching and earning an income, getting our academic teachers online, and now we've kind of done that. And what I'm noticing is both teachers and students are taking a downturn emotionally, and we need to find way, and we're at the beginning of this, you guys. I mean, we are at the beginning of this. We have a long road ahead of us. And how do we stay connected in positive ways? How do we lift our students up? How do we lift each other up? And so to that end, we're going to start moving a NATS chat towards mental health, probably in the next, for sure, in the next few days. And so stay tuned for more information on that. And we're talking about doing a NATS chat, free chat, where we just kind of get on and what do we all need to talk about? How do we need to support each other so we can continue to support our profession and our students? So stay tuned for that. I think we'll continue to do these and support our community because we really do have a long road ahead. So to that end, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And for those of you who made it to the end, all 64 of you, bravo, bravi. And have a good evening. Please stay healthy, wash your hands, stay inside, do whatever your government is telling you, your local government. And we will see you all very, very soon. Thank you again. Good night.
Let me